Our MC, Makoto Yamori, was the most powerful cultivator of the Lewis continent. During the Dark Ages, he defeated the Demon King's army and saved the entire continent from destruction. But right after victory, his own comrades suddenly betrayed him. Before dying, Makoto swore that he would drag every one of those traitors into hell who had deceived him. Just when he thought everything was over, Makoto was reborn, this time in another world. Now he's a college student belonging to the once great Yamori family. But in this world, Makoto is weak and useless. His own family already threw him out of the house, calling him trash. When Makoto opens his eyes, he sees a group of people staring at him in surprise. As he tries to understand what's going on around him, someone insults him, calling him worthless garbage who fainted during a simple test. Another student cuts in, reminding everyone that Makoto was already kicked out of his family, so he doesn't even deserve to be called young master anymore. Nearby, a girl tells the school genius, Kitama, to get back to his test. She's excited because Kitama is about to break another record. Kitama confidently nods, and the two of them walk away together. The teacher then tells the rest of the students to continue with their fitness test. When everyone leaves, ignoring Makoto, a strange silence fills the air. A storm of memories begins swirling inside his mind. He realizes he's been reborn as another boy, someone who also goes by the name Makoto. But this world Makoto has a weak body with blocked meridians. That's why, after his parents' death, his clan abandoned him. As he recalls these memories, he realizes no one in this world knows anything about cultivation. Feeling the air around him, Makoto can sense the presence of chi. In his past life, the people of Lewis continent had discovered how to absorb chi from the air. Makoto closes his eyes, focusing on the chi, but he can only sense a faint trace of it. He doesn't give up and tries to draw that energy into his body. Thanks to his knowledge from his previous life, he quickly learns how to absorb chi again. Like any true cultivator, he plans to store this energy and strengthen his body through practice. Soon, the small amount of power generated from this first stage of cultivation opens up his blocked meridians. When Makoto checks his physique, he notices he's grown a few inches taller. With renewed determination, he vows to regain his strength and return to the Lewis continent, to take revenge on those who betrayed him. But for now, his revenge will have to wait. He's only at the first stage of cultivation, and it'll take time before he becomes the strongest man again. To test the changes in his body and his new strength, Makoto decides to participate in the school's physical test. He quickly heads back to the field to inform the teachers of his decision. The students immediately start mocking him for trying to compete against Kitama. Kitama is clearly the school's favorite and has already earned a recommendation to a prestigious physical education university. Even Kitama joins in, laughing and calling Makoto trash without dignity. But Makoto ignores them all. He knows that his strength is now far beyond that of an ordinary human. One student reminds him that no one else dared to compete in this race because nobody wanted to go up against Kitama. Moments later, both Makoto and Kitama step onto the track, ready to face each other. As soon as the gun fires, Kitama takes off instantly. Makoto, on the other hand, calmly counts down and deliberately lets him go ahead. The crowd bursts out laughing, mocking Makoto once again for being a total loser. But 3 seconds later, Makoto suddenly bursts into full speed, shocking everyone. Within seconds, he dashes past Kitama like lightning. You see, when cultivators first appeared on the Lewis continent, their physical and mental abilities were far superior to normal humans. As Makoto nears the finish line, everyone is stunned when he doesn't cross it right away. Instead, he starts another countdown, waiting for Kitama to catch up. He gives Kitama an extra 3 seconds, then calmly crosses the finish line. The teacher checks the timer and announces that Makoto just set a new record, around 9 seconds. Kitama finishes the race too, but he's in complete disbelief that he lost to the school's so-called loser. Though Makoto hasn't even regained his full strength yet, he's happy with his current power. With this fresh start, he promises himself that he'll rise higher than ever and prove everyone who underestimated him wrong. Back on the Lewis continent, Makoto was once considered the most powerful being alive. In over 50 years of training, he had surpassed countless experts. By the age of 65, he had reached the 7th stage of cultivation, becoming the strongest cultivator on the continent. Now, trapped in this weak body, Makoto plans to use special medicines to accelerate his cultivation. But when he checks the prices, he realizes they're incredibly expensive and that this body's original owner was a broke loser. Makoto thinks about crafting and selling talismans to earn money, but he doesn't even have enough cash for low-grade materials. Still, he refuses to abandon his plan for revenge. He swears he'll find a way to make money, no matter what it takes. While Makoto is still lost in thought, figuring out how to earn money, Kitama, the captain of the field club, corners him in the bathroom with his gang. Among them is Haru, the captain of the boxing club. Kitama tells Makoto that because of his little race stunt on the field, he now needs to pay his protection fee immediately. From the memories he inherited, Makoto recalls that these guys always bullied the body's original owner for money. Just last week, Kitama, Haru, and Akira had beaten him up and extorted cash in the name of protection fees. Seeing the strange expression on Makoto's face, Kitama gets nervous and tells Haru to handle it. Haru, confident in his strength, thinks he can take down a weakling like Makoto with a single punch. He throws the first hit, but everyone is shocked when Makoto easily dodges it. The old Makoto might have just taken a hit, but this new Makoto is nothing like before. After dodging Haru's attack, Makoto counters with a powerful strike, landing a solid punch that completely deforms Haru's face. Then Makoto turns toward Akira and kicks him aside like trash. Oda and Kitama stand frozen in shock, unable to believe this is the same coward they used to mock. Makoto looks at them and asks, "What happened? Are you scared now?" But instead of running, Oda and Kitama charge at him. Makoto easily grabs their wrists mid-attack and stops them cold, then crushes their wrists effortlessly. Both of them scream in pain. Makoto ignores their cries, feeling a twisted satisfaction from their suffering. Unable to bear the agony, Oda and Kitama beg him to let go. Makoto finally releases them and throws them aside like garbage. By now, Kitama is so terrified that he trembles and pleads for mercy. Makoto agrees, but just as he's about to release Haru, Haru suddenly charges toward him to attack. This time, Makoto shatters the remaining bones in Haru's face with a single punch. He warns Haru that next time, he won't be so lucky. Watching this entire scene, Kitama and the others are practically frozen in shock until the end. They're terrified after seeing what Makoto just did. Makoto orders them to return everything they took from him. Hearing this, they all look confused. When he repeats himself angrily, Kitama screams in fear and promises to return everything. He quickly pulls out a bundle of cash and respectfully hands it over to Makoto. After taking the money, Makoto leaves the bathroom, thinking that hopefully they won't tell anyone about what happened. But judging by how scared they looked, he's pretty sure they won't dare to say a word. As he walks out, Makoto decides that he'll soon leave the school. Balancing his real purpose with classes will only slow him down. He counts the money and feels relieved. It's enough to buy low-grade materials for crafting talismans. By selling those, he can start saving money for his revenge. Later, Makoto buys the materials and prepares to begin. Talismans are special items commonly used by cultivators. While making them, a cultivator channels mental energy into the material to grant it mystical powers. Even though Makoto is only a first-stage chi cultivator now, he easily refines them and crafts quite a few low-grade talismans. His plan is to sell them and then find a good place to begin medicinal cultivation. Unfortunately, even after 3 weeks, Makoto doesn't sell a single talisman. He had set up a small stall on a street corner, but people only looked at him with disgust. One morning during his walk, Makoto finds a badly injured dog lying on the road. He decides to test one of his healing talismans on it to see if it works. Just as he expected, the dog's wounds heal instantly. The dog wags its tail and barks happily at Makoto. But suddenly, it growls angrily when 2 people approach, arguing with each other. One of them is Sho, the only son of the Wada family. The other is a girl named Shizu, daughter of the Sugar family. It seems the 2 of them were searching for this same dog and were fighting about it. They had seen the dog get hit earlier in an accident. Sho didn't care if it died, but Shizu wanted to find it and take it to the hospital. After a while, their argument stops when they see the dog completely healed in Makoto's arms. Shizu rushes over in shock, wondering how the dog could look so healthy when just moments ago it was bleeding and half dead. Noticing her hospital bag, Makoto realizes they might be heading to visit someone there. He decides to take advantage of the situation and shows Shizu the talisman he used on the dog. He tries to advertise his product, but Sho snaps at him in anger, calling him a fraud. Shizu ignores Sho's nonsense and turns to Makoto, asking if the talisman could help a sick patient. In response, Makoto takes out another talisman, one meant for repair and regeneration. He assures her that it works extremely well for patients like that. Sho refuses to believe it and keeps trying to convince Shizu not to buy it, but she ignores him again. Makoto then demonstrates how to use it, explaining that you just have to place it near the patient and it'll activate on its own. He tells her that large talismans cost 40,000 yen, while small ones go for 200 yen. To everyone's surprise, Shizu offers him 1 million yen for all of them. Furious, Sho lunges at Makoto, demanding that he leave immediately. But before he can strike, Makoto grabs Sho's wrist and twists it sharply. He warns him, "Step back and stay out of this." No matter how hard Sho tries, he can't break free from Makoto's grip. After a few seconds, Makoto easily tosses him aside and calmly returns to finish the deal with Shizu. Once the deal is finalized, Makoto explains how each talisman works. He says the yellow one is for protection, while the red one releases a fireball. Before leaving, Makoto says he hopes Shizu never has to use the yellow or red talismans. Shizu smiles gratefully, thanks him, and asks for his name. As he walks away, Makoto tells her his name, and the dog happily follows him. Later, after recovering from his beating, Sho starts yelling at Shizu again, calling her a fool for falling for a scam. But Shizu still trusts Makoto's words, though deep down, she just hopes the talisman might help her mother wake up. Meanwhile, Makoto returns home, overjoyed that he sold all his talismans. With the money he earned, he can now afford a good place to live. But before that, he wants to find some herbs for cultivation. Suddenly, his attention shifts when the dog starts barking toward a nearby house. Makoto looks up and realizes the people living there are completely surrounded by spiritual energy. When he observes the garden closely, he spots something silver, the hard grass growing there. At the same time, Sho is at the hospital getting his wrist treated. As the nurse tends to his wounds, Sho mutters angrily under his breath, swearing that next time, he'll kill Makoto. In another room of the same hospital, Shizu faces her furious father. Kenji, a councilman of Konkai City, scolds her for bringing shame to the family by getting tricked by a scammer. Hearing his loud voice, even the nurses start mocking her, saying she wasted money on fake talismans. Shizu ignores them all and tells her father that she's willing to do anything to heal her mother. Hearing that, Kenji explodes in anger, calling her crazy for believing in such nonsense. His outburst only fuels Shizu's rage. She yells back, accusing him of never once visiting her mother. She blames him for being the reason her mother was taken to the hospital too late. Because of him, she fell into a coma. Kenji is left speechless, completely shocked by her words. Shizu continues, saying that once her mother dies, her father will probably move on to another woman right away. In a fit of anger, he raises his hand to slap her, but stops halfway. He turns around to leave, saying he's deeply disappointed that Shizu has become so disrespectful. Before leaving, he tells her that a nurse will be coming soon to turn off her mother's life support. Shizu protests fiercely against this decision. Holding her mother's hand tightly, she presses the talisman into her palm. Suddenly, a bright light bursts out from the talisman. Shizu is completely shocked. Her mother gently strokes her hair and softly calls her name. Kenji sees this too, just as he was about to walk out of the room. Yoko, Shizu's mother, looks at her daughter and says she's gotten so thin. Kenji immediately rushes out of the room to call a doctor. He runs out into the hallway, shouting with joy, telling everyone that his wife has regained consciousness. The shocked doctors and nurses hurry inside and begin running tests on Yoko. Afterward, the doctor announces that Yoko will be able to return to her normal life in less than 2 years. Shizu shows them the talisman and explains that it's what healed her mother. But the doctor doesn't believe her at all. Sho also arrives to witness the commotion, finding the whole thing impossible to believe. The doctor orders the nurse to call award-winning Professor Suzuki for further tests. Still doubtful, Sho starts to wonder if maybe he was completely wrong about Makoto. Ignoring everyone in the room, Shizu hugs her mother tightly, crying tears of joy. Looking at the remaining talismans, she promises herself that if she ever meets Makoto again, she'll repay his kindness no matter what. Meanwhile, Makoto has already entered the house, covered in spiritual energy. He looks around, feeling pleased with his progress. His goal remains clear: to return to the Lewis continent and destroy everyone who betrayed him. With renewed determination, Makoto vows he'll never forgive any of them. He believes his day of revenge will come soon, once he reaches the Chi refining stage 11. To achieve that stage, he'll need spirit springs and spiritual materials to become the strongest cultivator once again. That night, Makoto starts worrying about how to increase his cultivation. Looking around, he senses that the spiritual energy in this world is slowly fading away. If it disappears completely, he won't be able to cultivate it all. He wonders how he can find a place or object rich in spiritual energy to escape his current limitations. He's worried about finding a spirit spring or a spiritual material, but somehow, luck is on his side. In the garden, he discovers silver heart grass growing there. This grass itself is considered a spiritual material, far superior to normal herbs. It can be used to refine elixirs that enhance cultivation. Makoto believes that refining a pill using this grass's berries might allow him to reach the second stage of cultivation. But he's cautious. One small mistake during pill refining could destroy all his progress. Unwilling to wait for a miracle, Makoto decides to start training immediately to prepare himself. The next morning, he goes out to sell more talismans, since refining cultivation pills cost a fortune. As Makoto works quietly with his head down, he suddenly senses that a group of people is watching him from afar. He had noticed them tailing him since the third day he started selling talismans. Today, their numbers seem larger, which means they might attack him soon. Deciding to face them head-on, Makoto begins packing up his stall. But just then, a girl suddenly steps in front of him, calling his name. She says she's been worried about him since he suddenly stopped coming to school. Makoto tries to recall who she is while she keeps rambling about all his problems, calling him a poor loser in between. Digging through the memories of the body's original owner, Makoto realizes she's Machiyama, the girl who once stood up for him. She offers to lend him some money so he can return to school, but Makoto completely ignores her and walks away. She tries to stop him, calling out his name, but he doesn't respond, which makes her suspect that something terrible might have happened to him. Meanwhile, Makoto keeps walking, secretly counting the number of thugs following him. After counting around 10, he confidently turns into an alley, ready to take them all on. Seeing him change his route, the thugs rush after him, knives in hand. Moments later, they corner him in a deserted alley that leads to a dead end. Thinking they've trapped him, they relax and taunt him, saying there's no escape now. Mockingly, Makoto tells them to attack all at once, but none of them take him seriously. He asks why they've been following him for days, trying to get them to reveal who sent them. The bald man only says that Makoto made a powerful person angry. Another thug questions why the Imatani family's lady would even be interested in someone like him. Makoto feels confused for a moment, but then remembers Setsu, the young lady of the Imatani family, was once engaged to the original owner of this body. But after he was expelled from their group, she cruelly dumped him and canceled the engagement. It bothers Makoto that they'd go this far just over a broken engagement. Realizing they don't plan to answer properly, he decides to make them talk by force. Meanwhile, behind the scene, Machiyama is secretly watching everything unfold. She's terrified, wondering how Makoto got mixed up with the Yakuza. Thinking he's too weak to fight them, she decides to call the police for help. Unfortunately, one of the thugs notices her before she can make the call. They grab her as she struggles to break free. The commotion distracts the others, who turn around to see their boss dragging Machiyama effortlessly, like a helpless puppy. Makoto is shocked too. He hadn't even realized she was following him. The boss mocks Makoto, saying he must be popular with women, even after betraying Setsu. Ignoring her own safety, Machiyama yells at Makoto to run away. She shouts that these men can't harm her because she belongs to a powerful family. Her words only make the boss laugh at her stupidity. He smirks and says that if he kills her in this empty alley, no one will ever find out. Deciding to finish her off first, he pulls out a knife and slashes toward her neck. But Makoto steps in just in time and breaks the boss's wrist with a single punch. Before the man can react, Makoto grabs his face and slams him into the ground effortlessly. Everyone around stands frozen in disbelief. Even Machiyama wonders if this is really the same Makoto she knew. Seeing their fear, Makoto sternly asks again, who sent them to attack him? Across town, Officer Kai receives an urgent message over the intercom. The Scar Gang is on the move. He's told that more than 30 gang members are heading toward an alley on East Street. The officer on the scene reports that they're chasing one boy and have taken a girl hostage. Without wasting a second, Kai speeds off in his car, telling the caller to request reinforcements, but not to alert Police Chief Onaga yet. He warns the caller to wait for backup and not to rush in alone. Soon, the officer updates him again, saying reinforcements might not even be needed. Apparently, the boy being targeted has already taken down the entire gang by himself. Meanwhile, Makoto is still finishing off the boss, who can't believe this is the same weak boy from the Yamori clan. Makoto interrogates him, demanding to know if the Amatani or Yamori family sent him. When the boss hesitates, Makoto grabs his head and squeezes hard, warning him to answer within 3 seconds. In agony, the boss cries out, begging for mercy and trying to stop him. Suddenly, Officer Kai arrives on the scene and orders Makoto to stop. Makoto is surprised to see him and wonders how the police found out so quickly. He considers running, but decides there's no need to reveal his full power. He releases the boss, who sighs in relief, feeling lucky to be alive. Makoto knows he can't go against the state's power just yet. Kai also relaxes, relieved that the situation is under control, but he's still stunned that a skinny young man managed to defeat over 30 gang members alone. He introduces himself to Makoto and Machiyama, saying he's a police sergeant from the city. Makoto ignores him, while Machiyama cheerfully greets him. Kai assures them that his partner, Rokahara, will handle everything smoothly. Hearing that, Makoto grows more alert, realizing they must have been observing him from the start. Sensing his unease, Kai tells him that Rokahara will only ask a few questions, nothing more. But suddenly, Police Commissioner Onaga arrives at the scene. He smirks arrogantly, calls Makoto a criminal, and orders his arrest. Grinning maliciously, he waves the arrest warrant right in front of Makoto's face. Machiyama, filled with anger. Machiyama insists that those men attacked first, but Onaga stubbornly argues that he only saw Makoto attacking the men. The Scar Gang boss smirks victoriously as another officer escorts him away. Fuming with anger, Kai confronts Onaga and reminds him of who the armed gang really is. Onaga ignores him completely, belittling him for daring to go against a second-grade police chief, and even threatens to have him fired. Kai doesn't back down at all. He keeps cursing his boss until Rokahara steps in, grabs his arm, and tells him to calm down. Kai finally stops when Makoto suddenly surrenders himself. Kai realizes then that there's a mastermind behind all of this, someone pulling the strings from the shadows. Onaga laughs smugly at Makoto's surrender, thinking he's won. But Makoto's real plan is to use this situation to uncover the hidden mastermind before it interferes with his cultivation progress. Makoto calmly asks Onaga how he knew he was a university student. Onaga freezes, realizing he accidentally revealed something he shouldn't have. Makoto calls him a servant and offers him a deal to help eliminate the real mastermind. Onaga pretends to be innocent, claiming he knows nothing about any mastermind. As he turns to leave, Makoto holds up a button. Onaga's face goes pale. He can't figure out when Makoto took it. Just then, another officer slaps handcuffs onto Onaga's wrist. Makoto warns him that next time, he won't just take a button. He'll take much more. Onaga grits his teeth and says coldly, "I'll remember that." Back in the prison, an officer quietly signals to one of the inmates, telling him that the target will be arriving soon. He points toward a dangerous-looking prisoner and orders him to finish the target once he's inside. Moments later, Makoto is brought into the same cell. Judging from the expressions on the guards' faces, he instantly realizes they're planning to kill him. But Makoto stays completely calm. Soon, his eyes meet the prisoner's, the same one who's been hired for the job, staring at him from a corner. For a brief moment, Makoto wonders if this stranger might actually be the mastermind himself. Before he can think further, the inmate slowly stands and starts ranting about justice and fate. Then, with a twisted grin, he yells out his name, Funaki, and openly admits that he's been paid to kill Makoto. Laughing maniacally, Funaki taunts him, saying, "Don't resist, just accept your defeat quietly. Makoto steps forward confidently, unfazed, and in a calm voice asks, "Who hired you?" From the moment he entered the cell, he had sensed something strange. Funaki had been humming a song called Ryazu. Without hesitation, Funaki charges at him, ready to kill. But right as he's about to strike, Makoto vanishes into thin air. In the next instant, he reappears beside Funaki and slams him into the ground with a single punch. Makoto says confidently, "Looks like you're the weak one here, Funaki." Funaki grabs Makoto's legs and hurls him upward, but it doesn't hurt Makoto in the slightest. When Makoto lands effortlessly, Funaki finally realizes he may have underestimated his opponent, but he still refuses to shut up. Ignoring his shouting, Makoto lunges forward and knocks him down again with one solid hit. Funaki is stunned by the sheer power of the punch. Before he can recover, Makoto drops from above and lands another devastating blow. Funaki tries to block it, but Makoto's kick is so strong that his defense shatters instantly. Still refusing to learn his lesson, Funaki charges again, but Makoto easily dodges and drives his fist deep into Funaki's stomach, completely destroying him. Now terrified, Funaki realizes just how huge the gap is between their strength. He crawls into a corner, trembling, wondering what just happened. Makoto doesn't plan to let him off so easily. Standing over him, his aura dark and overwhelming, he grabs Funaki's head and slams it into the ground, demanding the mastermind's name. He also asks where Funaki got the Ryatsu from. Meanwhile, back in his office, Anaga is still shaken by his encounter with Makoto. He growls angrily over the phone, shouting, "What kind of monster have you sent me?" The caller, a man named Hashimoto, assures him that Makoto is nothing but weak trash discarded by the Yamori clan. Hearing that, Anaga feels somewhat relieved, hoping Makoto will be eliminated quietly without any further mess. Hashimoto promises that he's already sent gang members from Rada to handle it, and also assures Anaga that Lord Aima will recommend him for promotion to district police chief. Anaga agrees and reminds Hashimoto not to forget that promise. Back in the prison cell, despite the brutal beating, Funaki refuses to reveal any secrets. Makoto actually respects his stubbornness. Funaki tells Makoto, "You underestimated me," which makes Makoto wonder, are there other cultivators in this world? Funaki explains that a few years ago, he met an old monk in Rada who could slice a tree in half by manipulating chi effortlessly. The monk had given him a bottle of divine water and told him to dilute it before using it. After following the monk's instructions for years, Funaki's body completely transformed. From this story, Makoto realizes that what Funaki calls divine water is actually Ryatsu, or spirit water. He wonders if a spiritual spring could also exist in Rada. Basically, spiritual springs form in places with an abundance of spiritual energy. Over time, that energy condenses into spirit water and eventually becomes a spring. On the Lewis continent, even a small amount of it is considered rare and precious among cultivators. Makoto asks Funaki, "If you're so powerful, why get involved in fights among ordinary people?" Funaki reveals that his child has ALS and that he desperately needed money for treatment. He also says he tried using the divine water on his son, but it didn't work. Needing huge amounts of money to keep his son alive, Funaki accepted the deal to kill Makoto. After thinking for a moment about the illness, Makoto offers to help heal his son. He explains that divine water is actually spirit water, also known as Ryatsu, and that it can be harmful to normal people. Ordinary spiritual energy might not heal him, but spirit water could easily destroy a weak body. He adds that spiritual energy can be used in special ways. Makoto then shows Funaki the same healing talisman he had once used on the dog, and to demonstrate its power, he uses it on Funaki himself. Funaki watches in astonishment as the talisman instantly heals all his wounds. Holding the talisman like a treasure, he can't believe what he's just seen. Makoto gives him one last warning. "Either tell me your master's name, or prepare to die." Without hesitation, Funaki confesses it was a man named Hashimoto who hired him. Meanwhile, in the Kozan Club, Hashimoto ends his call with Anaga. In an almost cheerful mood, he turns toward a beaten, bound girl and asks if she wants something to eat or drink. She can't answer. She just cries and trembles in pain. Hashimoto moves closer, forces her mouth open, and yanks out one of her teeth. The girl screams in agony while he laughs like a maniac. His torture session only stops when his butler enters and informs him that Lord Ima is asking for an update on Makoto's situation. Hashimoto tells the butler that someone is already handling it and that he'll go check at the police station soon, since he's sure Makoto must already be dead. Then he instructs the butler to tell Lord Ima to relax and wait for good news. Back in the cell, Makoto and Funaki seem to have formed an unlikely bond. Out of gratitude for the healing talisman, Funaki gives Makoto a necklace containing concentrated spirit water. Makoto is thrilled. Just a small amount sprinkled on silver grass will make it bear fruit immediately.